That is me playing La Peregrinación. Pardon me for butchering that name. So that is a tune by Ariel Ramirez, who I think is an Argentine composer. And I heard this tune with Bobo Stenson Trio. So maybe a little bit misleading title of this video, because it is an Argentinian song, like folkloristic song, I think. But I heard it with Bobo Stenson where they played as a jazz tune. So in this video, I want to take a look at this tune, and we're going to learn it. It's always nice to have tunes that are not from the jazz realm to bring it into your jazz repertoire, which is what Bobo Stenson Trio is doing. We can play our jazz standards all day long, but it's always nice to throw in something from another kind of musical world into the mix. The many things I want to look at with this tune, it has this chord progression which is descending fifths. So that's very common in jazz tunes, such as All the Things You Are, Autumn Leaves, and in other styles of music as well. We're going to look at that, but we're also going to look at how to kind of break away from a chord progression so that we're not trapped feeling that we have to play those chords or make the changes all the time. So try maybe a more modal, open approach to open up the harmony, and we're going to try to open up the rhythm as well. It's not clear to me if this tune is in 3/4 or 6/8. It's not even clear to me what the difference is really. So we're going to take a look at that to try to figure out what time signature actually is going on here and how we can kind of open up the rhythm as well. When you listen to Bobo Stenson playing this tune, it's from an album called Indicum, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. It's very open, it's very loose. And it's kind of hard to teach how to do that kind of open jazz. Ideally, you would have to show how to do it with the whole rhythm section, but I don't have a rhythm section here. But you can actually practice that stuff too, so that when you end up in a situation playing with people and it is very open, which it often is, you are kind of prepared and know how that works. So that's what we're going to look at. So let's get started, shall we? So all it is this chord progression. And I think of it as in 3/4 for now, like a kind of fast 3/4. So some people call this the descending fifths progression or falling fifths, because it's like kind of we're going down in fifths. A, D, G, C, F, etc. through the key of A minor. So if I play the bass line, I can play the guide tones. So the guide tones are the 7th and the 3rd, G and C, right? Which becomes the guide tones of the next chord, F and C, F and B, which are the guide tones of G, and E and B. It really works really well with guide tones when you have this kind of progression, because it's gonna be one voice moving and the other voice is staying. At some point you have to kind of shift where you are because I'm running out of register on the guitar. That's the A minor, D minor, G, C, F. I like to change here to B, so I'm just shifting to another place on the fretboard. E. That's the chord progression. And then let's just play the melody. I've written it in 3/4. So the way I wrote the melody is very straightforward. Obviously you want to kind of shift things around. So the A minor, for example, could be an A7 leading to D minor here. When there's an A minor before the D minor, you can always make that an A7. So right now I'm feeling this kind of as a rather quick 3/4. But I could also feel it like 4/4 or 6/8, like triplets. Then it would be something like that, right? All of a sudden, it's just the same thing. We're just shifting how we're feeling the time, kind of. So you should be able to do both. Ultimately, you want to, it's the same thing, really. Well, it's not the same thing, but you should be able to feel those two pulses or the two time feels at the same time. So I have this app called the Drum Genius, where I don't know how it works, how they are able to kind of take drum loops from recordings, if it's just created, if it's actually recordings or if it's created. But this is a 6/8 Afro basic Afro-Cuban beat. But I would count this like, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's kind of like 12/8, I guess. So this could be the time field for this song. Basically, the difference between 6/8 and 3/4 is if you're dividing 6 beats into 2 or 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 3/4. Whereas 6/8 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Dividing the eighth notes into 3. But these two things are, it's the same eighth notes. It's just where you're putting the emphasis. So I made a backing track in iReal Pro for myself where I'm using this time signature. So you can count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just a few things you can do. You can make that, as I said, A minor and A7. You can play this C major 7 as a major 7 sharp 5 because it kind of implies that A harmonic minor sound. I think Bobo Stenson does that all the time, even though they're playing in G minor. A7. C to C sharp. Another thing you can do is you can change the C major to a dominant chord for the next chord. So it could be like a sub 5 to that F. So F sharp 7 flat 5. Oftentimes when you do kind of folk music things, the sub 5s and that stuff doesn't really work, but here it works really well, I think. Play like whole tone there. One exercise you can do to outline those chords is play like this. Play the arpeggio and then the scale down. And at some point, because you don't want to run out of kind of you get too much of a register, you can pivot. So instead of going, I throw those notes down an octave. It's called pivot. You can even do that starting from third. So instead of going, I just go. The second note drops everything in octave. It's a technique that Charlie Parker used all the time. Right? Let's practice some rhythmic ideas for comping. The most obvious thing to do is just to play dotted quarter notes, which gives you those two pulses, right? Try to do that also with just shifting where you start. So maybe start on beat 2. Maybe it's easier to hear if you make it really like basic bass line. also do what's called a hemiola. So instead of thinking 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you kind of double the times. You're kind of making the time bar twice as long. So 2 bars become 1 bar. There I was anticipating you could also do this. D, G, G. It's harder to when you're anticipating. It's easier to kind of lose the time when the band starts doing that, the rhythm section starts doing that. It's very easy to lose where you are. So you want to be prepared for that. Ultimately, this shouldn't matter, you should just feel the time anyway. This could also be shifted by an 8th note like this. So there I sampled that, and now I can try to improvise with the same rhythm. Okay, now let's open up the harmony as well. So I've made a little backing track in the iReal Pro where I use an A pedal. So A, just power chord, so that it's could be either major third or minor third. Then D minor over A, G over A. C over A is just A minor 7, right? F over A. Then I wasn't sure what to call B minor 7 flat 5 over A, so I called it D minor 6 over A. This is the third inversion of that chord, right? And then E7 over A. So using a pedal like that makes everything more modal, so you don't feel like you have to play every chord all the time. Vamp where you can just leave it open. There are 2 groupings. Another thing you can do is treat everything as if it's from harmonic minor, A harmonic minor. If I think of all those chords as a cycle in that scale, I have to kind of change some of the chords. So A minor major 7, D minor, it's going to be a G diminished, right? Not a G. To C major 7 sharp 5. F major 7. B minor 7 flat 5 to E 7. To A minor major 7. So I made another backing track where I changed those chords like that, and I also made this little vamp where I just can play modally A harmonic minor, so I can just play that scale. I don't have to worry about the changes too much because that scale works on all those chords. I'm thinking more modally. It sounds something like this. Just play the scale. If you really want to stretch things even more, you can play that. That's what's sometimes called the Hungarian minor. So you raise the fourth to the sharp fourth. I think they're kind of experimenting with that sound in the beginning of where they play kind of clusters, because then you can play these kind of chords. A minor with a D sharp. Let's just try it. So that was it, La Peregrinación. The PDF is on my Patreon page of the tune, and I hope that gave you some ideas on how you can take a very simple tune and just work with it both from a rhythmic perspective and harmonic perspective to open up so that it's not so that you're not kind of too trapped inside that, because if you play that tune over and over the same chord progression, it would be kind of very boring after a while. You have to kind of do something, and I recommend that you go to that recording with Bobo Stenson and listen to how they play it. It's very open and very loose, and they keep kind of going back and forth between the form and open vamps and stuff. So yeah, thank you for your time and attention, and I shall see you next time.